我和爸爸现在在环青海湖。
Welcome to the video series of a 15-year-old teenager and his dad's bicycle trip around the Qinghai Lake, and then to Garmu. We started our trip from Xining on June 8th. We went through cold winds and rain and arrived at the lake 2 days later. At day 1, we started from Xining and rode to a county called Huangyuan. Day 2, we went to a town called Daotang River. First, we rode 10 miles to a 3,500 meter high mountain pass of Mount Riyue. And probably because I got so tired, I just sort of fell asleep there. Because I got a cold earlier on the train, I thought it was altitude sickness. But after a few days later, I began thinking about it and found out I was just so tired from the trip. And after a long downhill with cold wind flying past our ears and going through a hailstorm, we arrived at our destination wet and cold. At day 3, we went through storms and clear skies. After checking our bikes, lubricating the chains, and resting for half a day at a town called Daotanghe, we left the town, and an hour later, a hailstorm came. We immediately went to a gas station nearby to seek shelter. And then, after the storm cleared, we saw Mount Riyue, high snowy peak, and the mountain pass yesterday. And a few miles later, we saw the Qinghai Lake. The lake looked like a giant sapphire, and on the south环湖road, both the greenery and the lake combined brought us this breathtaking view. Day 4 is a pretty tiring day, both the view of the lake and riding against the wind. And when we reached the Dongge'er viewpoint, it's the closest viewpoint to the lake surface, I can see the silhouettes of the mountains far away. We reached our destination at dusk, and before that, we saw herds of yak munching on grass as we rode by. At day 5, we rode 57 miles to a county called Gangcha. After we climbed over a nameless pass, we started riding against a harsh and fast wind, and at one point, I saw clouds gathering above our heads and stopped my bike nearby a large building that we can seek shelter. But when the rain really came, it was just a small drizzle. And at 8 p.m., we arrived at the county Gangcha. The owner of the hotel told us that a few hours ago, before we came to the county, a large hailstorm just appeared, and we were lucky not to get pegged by hail the size of beans. At day 6, after we've left the county, we came upon this large uphill with dozens of rows of prayer flags. And when we reached a town called Haergai, clouds started gathering. And after that, skies suddenly clearing. Then we encountered a huge downhill lasting for tens of miles, all the way to a town called Xihai. Day 7 was the last day of us circling the lake. We started from Xihai and went on the East环湖road all the way to the edge of the lake. And then we saw there were sand dunes on each side of the road, reminding us that the environment is very fragile and we must do whatever is in our power to preserve and protect it. Also, we found a lot of things the local people are doing to control the desert from spreading. Planting trees and bushes, building check dams to preserve the water, and building small squares like a chest plate. A few hours later, we arrived at a village called Jiayi and went back to the town called Daotanghe in the middle of the night, and me feeling so delighted that we finished circling the largest saltwater lakes in China.